We are so excited because, as promised, we are bringing you fresh new segments here at Sunday Brunch. And this time we are doing all things makeup. And I am excited to welcome Pavea of Pavea Noel Artistry to the brunch table. And she's going to show us about lashes, lips, and eyes, which is something I know nothing about, but I love makeup, so I'm really excited to learn everything that I need to know about makeup. So we're going to get started. I
Yes.
know we already did a base here,
Yep.
and one of the questions that I asked was why is a base so important before we put our foundation on?
Okay. So a base is really important because that's gonna really what's gonna be holding your makeup together. The first thing you can always do, make sure you put on a good moisturizer, whether your skin is oily or it's dry. Just finding the right moisturizer for your skin type. If you're oily, go for more of a water-based moisturizer. If you're a little bit more dehydrated, go for something that's a little bit more creamy or thicker. And then, of course, we did a primer because the primer is going to be the glue to the makeup. That's that good in between. And then we went in and we did a good foundation, a little concealer. We left everything kind of skin-like because we still wanted her her natural features to kind of glow through the makeup and shine through. Did a little bronzer, blush, and we did her brows.
Amazing, amazing. So, do you have any tips for finding the right foundation color, especially like when you're in the store?
So when you're in the store, that's when things can get tricky.
Hmm.
And the reason why it's tricky is because of the lighting.
Yeah.
It's always with that overhead lighting. It looks one way in store, then you get home, it's completely different.
Hmm.
So one rule of thumb I always say is match to the outer parts of your
Hmm.
face because you want everything to match from here down to your neck. You don't want to look like you have a floating head.
Okay.
So, so that's one of the tricks versus matching to the inside of your face because
Hmm.
typically we're a bit brighter in the inside of our faces.
Right.
So always match to the perimeter, and that should make your journey a little bit easier.
Okay, that's an amazing tip.
Yeah.
I need to use that
Yeah.
because I struggle with the foundation color.
That's I still struggle.
Hmm.
It's just, especially when you're trying different brands and,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's a
amazing.
part of the makeup game.
Yeah. So, what's up first?
All right, so we're going to do eyes first.
Okay.
And we're going to do more of like an everyday eye, and then I can show you how to kind of tweak it and elevate it for night.
Okay, I'm
Sounds good?
ready.
All right. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a primer to her eyelid. The same way you want to add a primer to your skin, you want to add a primer to your eyelid because you want to make sure that the eyeshadow has something to adhere to and it doesn't crease. That way it'll last all day, all night, or even just for the moment. Um, I'm using just a paint. It's kind of like a paint kind of consistency made by Mitchell. However, you can also use a concealer. If you're using a concealer, just make sure it's a matte and not something that stays glowy or shiny because then that's going to move the makeup and it's going to move the makeup. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to sweep it over top of the base of her lid. And this part doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to buff out the edges with a fluffy brush. And we're going to do a windshield washer movement to just nicely diffuse it. You just want to diffuse the ends. You want to keep it nice and saturated towards the base. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. You can even do this with your finger, laying it down. You don't necessarily have to have a flat brush like so. And then I'm just going to cover that lid. And then I'm going to take my fluffy brush and I'm going to do that windshield washer movement and diffuse the product so that way there's no harsh lines. Another trick, if you feel like you're going in too hard or too rough and the bristles aren't really kind of gliding, pull back on the brush. So the closer your hand is to the bristles, the harder the pressure is going to be. So pull your hand back a little bit more and that way you'll be able to guide the brush versus kind of forcing the brush to do what you want it to do.
I'm feeling like brushes are very important when it comes to that.
Absolutely. And brushes are, of course, I mean, it's your tool.
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean that you have to get the most expensive brushes that's out there. You can go to Morphe, you can go Amazon. It doesn't matter. Most of them will work great. You just know how to properly use it.
Hmm.
So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do your crease color. And I'm going to do that kind of like warmer brown tone that's still neutrally, and I'm going to throw that in your crease.
Okay.
And I'm going to just swirl the brush. If you feel like it's too much, you could just tap the excess so that way it can come off. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that windshield washer movement again. I like to lift so that way you can kind of see the crease of the brow and where the brow bone is to the eye socket. When I'm doing myself, I kind of just drop my head. I drop my head back a little bit so that way I can kind of see the contours of my natural eye. And then again, so windshield washer movement. And I always say just pick up and then start building the color. It's easier to apply color than take it away. So that way there's less room for error. So back, little windshield washer movements. And once you get the correct saturation that you're looking for, then you can move on to do the other eye. So I feel like we've got a good crease color there. And you see I'm just still doing that windshield washer movement. I'm letting the brush do the work. I'm just guiding it. Yep. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye. And that same concept. Stick it in that crease, windshield washer movement, back and forth. And what this color is going to do is just going to give the eye dimension because you don't want it to look flat. All right, now that we got our crease color down, we can go ahead and add our lid color. We're going to go in with that same flat brush that we used to lay down her eye primer with, and we're going to do the lid color. Anything that's flat and a little bit more of a denser kind of bristle can pick up creams, it can pick up powders, it can even pick up some glitters. So this would be your best friend because it's multifunctional. Now, would you want to do a shimmer or would you want to go matte? What kind of mood do you think you would be into?
Let's do shimmer. Let's have a little fun today.
All right, so we're going to go with something that's a little more champagne-y. And the reason why I'm doing that kind of champagne shimmer is because it's still forgiving for daytime. When you're doing the lid color, you're going to make sure that you're pressing it in and not sweeping it. If you sweep it, you're kind of just dusting it off the lid. When you're stamping it in or pressing it in, you're making sure that it's going in that one specific spot that you want it to be. Once you get in the right spot, we're going to go back with that same fluffy brush and windshield washer movement. Because we want to diffuse. We don't want any harsh lines. You want everything to kind of flow like a dream. Same thing on this side, stamping motion, stamping it into the lid or pressing, light pressing. And then we're going to go back, fluffy brush, and do that windshield washer movement to diffuse any harsh lines. And you could also just, if you wanted to be finished here, you could. But if you wanted to kind of give it a little extra, you can add a darker crease color on the outer corners of the eyes, which I'm going to end up doing. Go ahead and look at me. See, it looks really pretty already. Now, when you're doing the outer corners of the eye, you're going to go back and you're going to switch up your tool now. You're going to go back with a fluffy brush again, but the difference is that it's shorter bristles.
Okay.
Shorter bristles, more compact, and a little bit more denser.
Okay.
So that way it's going to keep the product concentrated, but still diffuse it some, just not as much as this bigger guy. But you still want to keep this one in hand because you might have to go back.
Okay. And I'm guessing that the specific brushes also keep the eye makeup from going on my skin, like below?
Unfortunately, not necessarily.
Okay.
The stamping is what helps it not necessarily do that.
Okay.
But we did get a little bit of fallout, but you can go back and fix that easily.
Okay.
So now I'm going to just take something just a little bit deeper. I'm going to use this deeper brown. And it has a little bit of a reddy undertone to it. We're going to go ahead and use this on your outer corners. So with this motion, even though it's a fluffy brush, we're going to kind of stamp it in first so that way we can really put it in the exact spot that we want it to be. And we're going to go ahead and press it in. Once we like the saturation, I always like to step away. even when I'm at home. I'm going to step away from the mirror because sometimes I'm really in the mirror. Step away from the mirror so that way you can get a better view of what your makeup actually looks like. Because when you're too close, you're paying attention to different things and you're not noticing the bigger picture. So once you get stamped in, we're going to go ahead and buff out those little bit of edges and make everything look soft again. If you feel like it's not doing enough, you go back with that same fluffy brush and do it. Another thing, if you feel like you put the outer color on and you went too far into the light lid color, all you have to do is go back. You can pick up the product again and just go right over top of it. So that's just a little trick so that way, because it happens. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. We're going to stamp in that outer corner color until we get the correct saturation. Once you get it dark enough, then perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and soften up the edges. Now this would be perfect for your day look. So say if you were going to work, now say work is over and you're going to happy hour or maybe you have dinner plans and you're like, I want to kind of give it a little bit something extra. Then we're going to go in and we're going to go ahead and add typically you would just already have on your mascara.
Yeah.
But now we're going to go in and we're going to go ahead and add a liner. And then I'll show you two ways to do a liner. We could do a regular, just thin liner, and then I'll show you a way to smoke it out. So that way, if you want that extra drama, extra pop, you could do that as well. So the liner that I'm currently using is Inglot. It's one of my favorite brands. I don't know the exact color, but I love this because it doesn't move.
Okay.
Once it's on, it's on. You don't have to worry about it running or getting all over your eyelid, anything like that. Once it's dried down, it's a great product.
Yeah. I feel like that's the trouble with liquids sometimes.
Yeah, it's not forgiving.
Yeah.
This you'll have time to kind of manipulate it.
Okay.
And I know that liner can be difficult for a lot of people. Everybody doesn't have a steady hand, so that can be frustrating. And this is one of those products that are easier to use. All right, and then I'll do one side with just the liner and the other side kind of smoky, so that way you can see differences in how it looks. So I'm going to go in with an angled brush. I like these. Some people like to use a little skinny that looks like a little pin needle. I like this one because you can kind of guide it better. I like to coat both sides of the brush because when you're coating both sides, you're making the brush thinner. So that when you go ahead and line it, it comes out a little bit more crisp. And I'm actually going to have you look down.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm going to have you look down is because when your eyes are closed, naturally we kind of get little lines in our lids. So then once we open our eyes, we notice we have like little gaps in between the liner. And that's where you have to go back and finish it.
So that's a no-no.
The way you would do it at home, remember how I told you guys, tilt your head back. When your head is tilted back, your eye is still open and you can kind of just guide it across. If you are one of those people who are really blinky, hold your eye, but still tilt back and then go in with it.
Okay.
And I'm going to just start on the inside. If it's easier, you could do little kind of dashes. If you're a professional, just go ahead and draw that line on through. But dashes also help because it's easier to connect the gaps in the dash if it's longer dashes. Once I get to the outer corner of the eye, I was using the angle towards the inside, the point. Once I get to the outside, I flip it around and I get the angle towards the outside of the eye. And then I'm going to actually pull in the product. Because even though I'm not necessarily giving you a cat eye, I want it to be a little bit more defined on that tail end of the liner. And that would be just an easy, clean, simple liner. Now, if you had something else in mind, you're like, you know what, I'm not good at liner, but I still want to have that makeup liner kind of look. This is how you would do that. You can actually use that same little flat brush, just so that way we can keep minimal tools. I'm just going to kind of wipe it off to kind of get it kind of clean again. And I'm going to use that same stamping motion. This one, you won't have to be so concerned about the way that it's going on and making sure the line is clean, because we're going to mess it up anyway.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and start the same way inside of that eyelid. Turn it around towards the outside and pull in. Then we're going to go ahead and take the flat brush and we're just going to go ahead and smudge it out. Buff out those corners and just diffuse it. You don't want it to be necessarily perfect. You just want it to be kind of washed out. And that way it almost gives that illusion of like a light, minimal, almost smoky eye, but it's not a smoky eye.
Okay.
So you're getting that kind of illusion. You could also go back and you can add a darker color right towards the base if you want to deepen it up, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. And I'm going to go in just a little bit of the product on the tip of the brush, and then I'm going to just do that same thing and I'm going to press it in just right on the lid. Looks pretty. I like both looks. It just depends what kind of girl you are.
Okay. I guess I could go both ways. I don't
yeah, that's why it's like.
Yeah, so.
And I'm gonna put the lash on so that way you can kind of see what both of them look like.
Okay.
And then before we move on to address the fallout, because it happens, especially with shimmery colors, you're going to have a little bit of fallout. It's nothing you can really do about it. What I like to do is I like to just go ahead and grab a translucent powder, fluffy brush again, because remember, fluffy brush is what? Diffuse. So we're going to grab something fluffy. I'm going to grab a little bit of the translucent powder. Look up for me. And I'm going to kind of just dust. It's going to start to move the product off for me. And it's not going to change the color of the makeup. Because if you go in with something with color, you're going to change it. Now, the other alternative is you could just do your eyes first and then go ahead and do your skin after. It just depends on which way you like to do it better and what your routine is.
Yeah. I mean, this is such a quick and easy step that like, yeah, it doesn't overcomplicate it.
Yep. I just wouldn't do it. So if you're doing like a smoky eye, I definitely recommend doing the eyes first.
Okay.
Because the black, again, that's a lot harder to remove. It's not forgiving.
Okay.
So you're going to have to go ahead and do the eyes first, clean up, and then go ahead and follow up with your skin.
Okay, great. So I feel like I'm, okay.
Do you want me to add mascara so that way it looks like it's,
Okay.
I feel like just to kind of finish off the look. It's kind of like a little 2-for-1. You have really long lashes. They're so pretty.
Thank you.
Look up for me, because I like to just tap the bottom ones. Okay. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited. I feel like everything you taught us is very accessible, very easy, and I feel like I can do this at home.
I think you could.
All right.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, join us next time. We're going to go over lashes to finish completing this look. Thank you.
Bye.